everybody, and thank you for clicking on some pretty serious potential updates to bring you from the stories we have been covering of late. And hello to not going away. Hello to everybody watching, those watching and are in the chat, those watching live, those watching at your convenience. We got some things to get to, and I'll go ahead and get started with that in just a couple of seconds here, as soon as I get the commercial out of the way. All right, I can't do that. Here we go. All right, we've had presidential planes. If you watch the program, you know we've had presidential or doomsday planes in the air for about the last 11 days, which is a sign that something is going on. We're interpreting it as a sign that our military is at a heightened state of alert. You combine that with the fact that there hasn't been a lot of military aid rushing into Maui. When we see a natural disaster in other countries, generally within a couple of days, we see our military providing aid. And our military hasn't been rushing into Maui. Of course, that brings up a couple of other things about Maui. Is there a reason that it's closed off? Is there a reason that there are reasons? What is the reason that it's still closed off, that people can't go back in and at least try to find something that might have survived? And while I'm on Maui, earlier today, okay, there's a restaurant called Panda Express near me. I think it's a chain. I don't know if it's everywhere, but the past couple of weeks, at the beginning of the week, I've gone and gotten a bowl of orange chicken and fried rice, and it generally lasts me like 3 days. Well, today I was putting that bowl into the microwave and had a silver spoon in the bowl, or not a silver spoon, but I had a metal spoon, and I was about to close the door, and I saw the metal spoon, and I reached in and grabbed it out and tapped the rice off of it and set it down, because you can put vegetables, you can put a tree technically inside a microwave, and it's going to get warm, just like the food you put in there gets warm. If you put a Matchbox car in a microwave, boom. Just something to think about as far as what's going on in Maui. If you look back to last night's episode and you see the pictures of Maui, you'll see a car that is just abandoned, paint's fine on it. 6 feet away, there's a car that's melted into the asphalt. And the asphalt is just melted around where the cars are. The whole entire asphalt didn't melt. A lot of questionable things in the images from Maui. Go back to last night's episode and watch. All right. That all being said, we've had planes in the air. Again, I think our military is on high alert. Our military is stretched thin. I think the rest of the world probably is aware of this as well. We've got things going on in Africa. We got things going on potentially with North Korea. We got things potentially going on in Taiwan. We got things definitely going on in Eastern Europe. We've got things potentially going on in the Middle East with Iran, with potentially our ally Israel. There are a lot of things going on around the world, a lot of hot spots, if you will. So I think it's fair to assume that our military might be on a heightened state of alert. I think we've got some proof in the fact that over the past 11 days, we've had doomsday planes in the air. All right. At least two, often four. Yesterday we had a presidential doomsday plane. Today we had a presidential doomsday plane. Made much the same circuit as yesterday. It took off and flew around. It flew over the St. Louis airport repeatedly. It flew over Indianapolis repeatedly. It flew over Pittsburgh and it flew over Columbus. Basically, a condensed route and multiple times. As to what they did yesterday when they swung down and went through Nashville, Knoxville, and then back up over to Columbus and over to Indianapolis, and then back over Cincinnati and Kansas City. All right, that's what the presidential plane did today. Also, there was a nuke sniffer up today, and two B-52 bombers were scrambled. One from up here in Olford Air Force Base. That's this one right here. And it eventually went out over the Pacific Ocean and turned its transponder off. The other B-52 swung over and was just about over D.C. and then came back and I think landed in Nebraska. But two B-52s were scrambled earlier today. Why would two B-52s be scrambled? We can only guess as precaution to just remind everybody that, we still got a whole bunch of nukes, even though we don't have a lot of people. Also, the three of the stealth bombers, the B-1 stealth bombers, and the B-52s, the B-1s, I think both can carry either 18 or 20, basically nuclear missiles, and with 150 kiloton warheads on each one. So these are not planes to mess around with, I guess you might say. Actually, hang on a second. Get through this commercial, and this is what one of the B-1s. This is what it's a B-2, U.S. B-2 Spirit bombers that deploy to Keflock Air Base for Bomber Task Force 23-4. This comes from the U.S. Air Force's press releases, and they've moved three of these bombers up to Iceland. That just puts them that much closer to. All you got to do is go over the Arctic Circle, and you're in Russia. Just to let you know, okay? Those things are going on. Also going on, tensions are incredibly high in Poland, in Lithuania, all along the Belarus border. Earlier today, it was announced that Poland has closed all but two of its borders with Belarus, and the only two borders that are open are in the south, not in the north, up by the corridor that runs from Belarus to I forget the name of that, the oblast over there that is separated by both Lithuania and Poland. And then Lithuania is closing two of its borders with Belarus as well. The reasons being given are because of a buildup of Belarusian troops and Wagner. If you're from the United States, you'll say Wagner, but everywhere else it's Wagner. The W is pronounced like a V, and Wagner, of course, composer that the name came from, Flight of the Valkyrie. When they started building up Poland moved 10,000 troops to the border. That's a massive amount of troops. Um, so there are a lot of reasons why our military is is on high alert. Um, let's see one other thing. Yes, a couple other things that should cause us concern. Russia confirms it hit a Swedish plant in Lutsk and saying it was a military target. Um, there are those that are calling for Article 5 of NATO because the Sweden is now a member of NATO, and Sweden was attacked. Um, I don't think this is going to trigger it at some point. I'm kind of concerned that it's going to get triggered. And one final thing, one final thing. Um, there was an alert in Russia. This came in 15 hours ago. An attack in the southern area of Moscow. Um, so there are rebel forces. Not to sound like Star Wars, but there are rebel forces that are at work in Russia, trying to bring Putin down. Putin is struggling in Ukraine. Um, the ruble, the currency for Russia, is worth less than 1 cent. Um, one penny of an American dollar, less than 1/100th of an American dollar. That's how far crashed the Russian ruble is. Okay, the market's crashed. They are they've lost 225,000 people so far, soldiers, um, in fatalities alone, not wounded and no longer able to fight, just dead. They've got a lot of people. Don't get me wrong. So you got all of this stuff mounting up on Putin, and the word comes out today. I don't have a screen for it, but you can Google it, you can look it up, or you can just trust me. That word came out today that Putin is finally going to blow the Zaporizhzhia nuclear power plant, and at the same time, he's going to cause a maybe not a total meltdown, but he's going to cause a nuclear incident on his own land in one of his nuclear facilities. Blame everything on Ukraine and on terrorism to justify whatever they have planned coming next. All that being said, that's why the U.S. military, in my estimation, is on a very heightened state of alert because there's just too many things just with Russia, Ukraine, Poland, Belarus, Lithuania, now Sweden, and plus forces within Russia. We're not even touching on the problems in Iran, the problems in Israel, the problems in Niger. We've touched on all of these in the past, but right now that's not the focus. Or Taiwan or North Korea, and the crazy dude in North Korea is making preparations for offensive nuclear war. That's what they're announcing. Again, these desperate, all right? The guy in North Korea is desperate for attention. The guy in North Korea is desperate to be worshipped by his people. The guy in Russia is sick with cancer. He's doesn't want to appear weak in any way, shape, or form, and yet everything all around him now appears weak. These are desperate men, and the old saying, "Desperate times calls for desperate actions. What could happen if indeed they blow Zaporizhzhia and stage a nuclear incident on their own land? Just the word nuclear, all right? When that word comes across the news channels, mainstream news, okay, we'll have it first, obviously, and that's why you guys watch, and I love you all. Thank you so much for doing so. But it's not a race. It's just paying attention to what's going on in order to try to help people have a head start. That's what I'm doing with all this kind of stuff. We do other things on here, but there's some stuff going on. If you hear nuclear, you perk up. When you hear a nuclear accident or a nuclear attack, you hear either one of those, you perk up. Now, if you hear Russia, nuclear incident, those three words together, people will start panicking. People are going to panic an awful lot in Eastern Europe, but people here will start panicking too, because the realization is, why do we have sub hunters on the Gulf of Mexico if somebody doesn't have their submarines out there or potentially do? Why do we have submarine hunters off the coast of California if somebody doesn't have their submarines out there, or we assume they do? Why do we have communications to our subs flying in those areas? Well, our subs are out there too, probably tracking their subs. At least that's my hope, that they're tracking them and they know where they are, and they can, what's the correct term? Neutralize them before they act if it's necessary, because it's becoming more and more potentially necessary. And I'm not trying to freak anybody out. I'm not trying to jack anybody up. I'm just saying, when you analyze everything all together, we could be in a time similar to the Cuban Missile Crisis, when none of us knew anything that was actually going on in those 13 days in October. But we were so close to being annihilated as a world, because if it would have started with us in Russia, nobody was going to stop it. And if it starts again, or if it ever starts for the first time, because we're the only ones that have ever done it. All right. Now let's go back to that time. Let's go back to when the United States dropped 2 nuclear bombs on Japan, on Nagasaki and on Hiroshima. Nobody knew what those bombs were when they fell outside of the program. That the people on the ship didn't know they were delivering the bomb, USS Indianapolis. People flying it in the plane. I mean, the people delivering it to Japan knew what it was, because they'd been training for it the whole time. But it was such a secret thing that nobody knew about it. Now, is it not possible that in Maui we saw for the first time a brand new weapon with pinpoint accuracy that can melt cars into the pavement, and 6 feet away have a car that paint's not even blistered? Just because we don't know about it doesn't mean it doesn't exist. And that leads me to my last thing for tonight. This is from Harvard physicist. Think Sheldon Cooper from The Big Bang Theory. This is Avi Loeb is his name. Let's get down here and quickly read through what Avi has to say, Professor Avi. Harvard astrophysicist Avi Loeb said, the quiet part out loud while talking to Fox News Digital. This was back on Monday about UFOs, aliens, and his ongoing research into extraterrestrial life. Lowe believes that the proven existence of alien life should be enough to prompt humanity into a state of global unification. I have just told you how incredibly on the verge of killing each other all across the world we are. And I want to end with this because this is a reminder that instead of all of us looking at each other, whether we're looking at each other in our own town, in our own state, in our own country, in our own world, looking at each other as enemies, if there are aliens, should we not be trying to unify as the protectors of each other and of the globe? We won't, but because the way it should be and the way it is very, very rarely the same. But maybe that's the way it should be. Anyway, let's get back to what he's saying here. The idea is aliens would force humanity to consider ourselves a united species rather than a diverse species who hate each other for largely mundane reasons. You've heard this idea before. It goes back to Reagan. Yes, when Reagan saw UFOs before he was president, and then when he became president and was given the presidential brief that I think everybody but Trump was given. I don't think Trump was given that brief, or if he did, he didn't pay any attention, which wouldn't be a surprise either. But I digress. Reagan knew, he had seen them. He's seen unidentified flying objects. And then he found out there was alien life. And he started talking about how the world needed to unify, which everybody thought was kind of odd for how he had been talking before. But nonetheless, he and Gorbachev got together and took the Berlin Wall down and kind of opened the world up a little bit more. Nixon had sent a ping pong team to China, back in the 70s to try to start to open up a very closed society in China. I think it's because these presidents had been told and they decided, killing each other is not going to do anything for us other than have a whole lot less of us to potentially try to defend our planet. That's kind of a big scope, I understand that that's a big scope. Going from thinking, especially if you're some dude from Arkansas. No offense to Arkansas, but just using Arkansas. If you're some dude from Arkansas that you grew up in a small rural Arkansas town and you were groomed, whether you knew it or not, to hate anybody that didn't look like you or sound like you, or went to the same school as you, because you got to hate the people in the next school, and that's not just Arkansas. But anyway, I digress. Back to Arkansas. And to go from being groomed that way your whole life to where you've never left Arkansas and you're still that way, anything you see that is different from you is scary, even though it's really not, because you got monolithic thinking, and a lot of people do. You think everything, monolithic, one way. Every white person is this way. Every black person is this way. Every cop is this way. Every this is this way, and it's not like that. It's just not like that. The world is not like that. And too many people are raised that way. So when aliens are finally confirmed, those people are going to freak out the most. And instead of going back to Reagan or Nixon and starting to groom the world, if you will, starting to condition the world to the idea that, hey, we are not alone. Instead of killing all of each other, we ought to start working together, providing for each other, trying to make everything better for everybody, and utilizing all of our talents to make the world a better place and to make it a safer place from our actual potential people or beings that we'll be in contact with. It's a lot. It's a lot. And Donnie Trump and people like that don't help. You know, that taking people backwards is not helping. All right. I'm not talking politics at the moment. I'm talking humanity. Taking people back, humanity wise, is wrong. It's bad. It's negative. It's stupid. It's hurtful. It's hateful. It will end in violence each and every time. And all it does is divide us. What did the guy say? Mundane reasons. Um, the idea is aliens would force humanity to consider ourselves a united species rather than a diverse species who hate each other for largely mundane reasons. If we all cut ourselves, it's all going to be red. The blood's blue on the inside till oxygen hits it, and then it becomes red. All right. Doesn't matter the pigment of your skin. Doesn't matter the coarseness of your hair. Doesn't matter the location you were born. It doesn't matter how blessed you were born. If you were blessed to be born in money, you ought to be humble and magnanimous about the blessing you have instead of an ignorant, arrogant, pretentious, entitled prick or prickess. Just a thought. Okay. The idea has been bounced around the UFO community for decades. It is assumed that any announcement or discovery, this is the flip side to everything I've been saying. Here comes the other part. It is assumed that any announcement or discovery regarding alien life is a globalist psyop. It's not going to be true. You know what I said? The dude from Arkansas ain't gonna believe it. I don't care. It's that CGI. It's that AI. It's that uh, Chatty Pro or whatever it is. It ain't real. I mean, come on, aliens. It ain't real. Space beam. It ain't real. Some kind of microwave weapon. Some kind of sound weapon that causes earthquakes. Some kind of chemicals put in the clouds that cause storms. None of that's real. The idea has been bounced around the UFO community for decades. It is assumed that any announcement or discovery regarding alien life is a globalist psyop designed to destroy individual freedoms, enslave humanity, and usher in New World Order. All right. All the things that your Republican leaders are telling you others are wanting to do, could they all be in cahoots? All these major politicians around the world, could they all be in cahoots with the alien life forms? And and the aliens really want to do that? You know, can you see the aliens wanting to destroy individual freedom, wanting to enslave humanity, and wanting to usher in a new world order? You know, you may be half right. All of you out there screaming freedom and screaming deep state, you may be half right. But what if it's the aliens and you need all the rest of us because there's only been 3,000 of us that have figured it all out that are fighting for freedom. You need the rest of us. To me, it just, I understand what the dude's saying. It will, if it ever happens, hypothetically, when it happens, it will just divide us more, sadly. But he said the quiet part out loud. So once he said it, I had to talk about it a little bit tonight to end things here. So I'm gonna hop back over and see if anybody's in the chat. Um, Not going a ways in here. Is anybody else in here? Hi, Cunning. Hi, Peace, Love, and Sunshine. Hi, Glenda. Um, Thank you all. Thank you all that were in the chat. Thank you all for being here. I'm keeping it really short tonight in hopes that people will watch this um, at their convenience, because there's some stuff in here people need to know. All right. We scrambled B-52 bombers today while we had 2 doomsday planes in the air. For the last 11 days, we've had doomsday planes in the air. It's just not normal. All right. They're closing the borders on um, in Lithuania and in Poland, closing the borders to Belarus. That would be like, um, us closing the borders to Canada, which we did because of COVID. Right? It was a pretty serious thing. Well, imagine what's going on over there on those borders as they're getting ready to close. The reason is because of a buildup of Wagner and Belarusian troops along the borders, the northern border of Poland and the southern border of Lithuania. They got to close the borders off because the troops could just come through in regular trucks. They could sneak a nuke through. There are all kinds of things that could be done at a border, as we know, with the 2 major borders we have here in the United States. You got all that going on. You got a leak from the Kremlin that towards the end of August or the 1st of September, Putin is finally going to blow the Zaporizhzhia nuclear power plant. Plus, he is going to sabotage one of his own nuclear power plants on his own soil, sacrificing. If he blows Zaporizhzhia, it just basically radiates all of southern Europe or all of southern Ukraine. It will destroy a lot of land in Belarus. And hold on just a second, please. Ugly! Sorry about that. Something's out there. All right. Ouch, that hurt. But I had Oakley, come on. For those that don't know, that's Doofus dog. Oakley, something's outside because she doesn't do this. She knows when I'm on. Believe it or not, she comes back and sits by the door. She knows I'm on and guards the place while I'm back here. So you got those things. You've got the B1 or the B2 bombers moved to Iceland so that they're closer to Russia. You don't have to fly across Canada anymore from Mulford Air Force Base in Montana. A lot going on, and I'm keeping it short so that hopefully people will watch this. Hopefully you'll tell people, hey, check this out, because there's a lot of stuff in here, and maybe it's stuff that you need to know about. It's stuff I think you should think about. And plus, I'm going to be monitoring what's going on, and I may be back on. Hopefully not, because if I do come back on, there's going to be something really big going on. In the meantime, thank you for being here. Thanks for clicking on. Thanks for tuning in. If you want to contact me, americandufus@gmail.com. You want to help support the channel, $ American Doofus. That's our Cash App. And thank you to everybody that has. And we hit the subscribe, hit the notification, even though the notification doesn't always work. And I forgot tonight to put in the community post that I was coming on at 8. for this little brief episode. And as far as what's coming up, chances are I will not be on tomorrow night unless it's something like this, something big has happened, or enough relative news is coming out that I need to do an update. And because we're going to get to the place where if you hear nuclear, if you hear Russia, if you hear incident, all three of those things in the same sentence on a mainstream media newscast, it's too late. The panic has already started. And what I mean by panic, people are going to be buying up stuff to survive a potential nuclear attack. It'll start in Eastern Europe, and it'll quickly spread through Europe and over here because of this internet. We wouldn't have known about the Cuban Missile Crisis had we not, if we'd had the internet, we would probably known back then. If we'd had the internet, we'd have probably known about the nuclear bomb back then. Now, what? A couple of hundred of us are going to know some things that the rest of the world isn't. 98% of the rest of the world isn't paying attention to everything we've been talking about here tonight. So I greatly appreciate you being here and ask you to help spread the word. Probably won't be on tomorrow night. Maybe on Friday night. May have a surprise Friday night. I don't know. I will be back Saturday night for sure. Saturday night, probably around 8 p.m. We're going to do another concert in the park with the Parks Department up here and with the Depot, local, what's it called? Farm to Table, a local farm to table brewery in the area, and concerts in the parks behind that. In case you haven't seen them, you can check them out on the channel. I've got all of them we've done so far this season. I've got an all access pass, so I can get up on the stage, get you some different angles, and try to do that. Try to give you a good look at the show. And Saturday night, it's going to be a tribute to Barracuda, or a tribute to Ann and Nancy Wilson, the band called Heart. And if the band is Barracuda that does the tribute to Ann and Nancy, and I got to meet both of them in my past, so I'm kind of looking forward to that. It's I think it'll be a good show. That's what's happening Saturday night. Other than that, I'm going to get off of here. I'm going to keep monitoring what's going on. Hopefully I'm not back tonight. Hopefully I'm not back tomorrow. But if I am, I ask you to pay attention because I'm coming on here for a reason. All right. Love y'all. Thank you so much. Love you like chocolate chip cookies. I mean that too. Namaste. Shalom. Shalom. Assalamu alaikum. Blessings be upon you. Live long and prosper. Peace. Much positive vibration. We need it in the world. It's a dark world. Oh man, it's getting darker. Try to be a light. It's hard, but we need more lights. I love y'all. Thanks for watching.